I was just on Statistic Canada's website, StatsCan website, and looking into energy use by Canadians. And the reason I'm doing that is because I think for my action research um, project, I'm going to do it specifically on energy use. It was actually going to be on energy use as well as water use, but I realized that I have no real way of measuring water use in a objective way. I don't get my own water metered because the building I am in pays for the water. Because of that, I want to look at energy because I do get my own energy bill, and my energy bill is already quite low. But I don't spend a lot of time here, and I was thinking, I'm spending a fair bit of money on energy considering the amount of time I spend in my room, and I'm just doing some research here, and it's saying Canada's demand for energy rose 5.5% in 2007. And one of the major places it rose was in the residential sector. And I'm just looking here. In 2007, Canada consumed 7,968 petajoules of energy. And 1 petajoule is roughly the amount of energy required to operate the Montreal subway system for a year. So it's a gargantuan amount of energy. And an awful lot of our energy is derived from fossil fuels, which of course has major environmental impacts. And our energy derivation rose 7% from the fossil fuel energy production, and that's a lot. It just seems to me that we could do a little bit better, and I'm one person, but if I, as one person, change things around so that my energy use goes down, I think that's worth it. And I mean, all of my lights in here, I actually only have 3 lights in my entire apartment. Um, they're all high efficiency lighting. They're all compact fluorescent, and they're all low wattage compact fluorescents, which of course makes them low output too, which means I kind of live in a dark cave because I'm in a basement room, and I have to admit that's wearing on me. But I think it's one of the things I can do. And, if it ends up that I go into some sort of a deep, dark depression, I have fought with depression in the past, I might as well admit that. And if it turns out that I'm going into depression because I live in a dark hole, I may have to change back. But so far, so good. And it's, like I say, it's a small thing I can do. And I turn my lights off when I leave, which is a relatively recent thing. I used to leave a light on when I would go home for the weekend just so people would think I'm here. I still have an urge to do that because I guess I am a typical consumer in that I like my electronic toys, and I have a fair bit of money's worth of stuff in here. And I don't mind people thinking I'm home. On the other hand, how do you do your part for the environment? And that's one thing I can do. So that's one thing. The other thing are my computers. I have 4 of them. I generally only have one on at any given time. But, and I mean, I know what you're probably thinking, and I've thought about it too. 4 computers, holy shit, what a waste of resources. But my 4 computers do different things, and I have no television, and I have, I've foregone a lot of other stuff. And so I have my main computer, which I use my main desktop computer, which I use for everyday things. And then I have a music computer, which I use for recording and playing my guitars through, and MIDI stuff like keyboards and synthesizing and so on and so forth. And it's only on when I'm doing that. So it's not on all the time. And actually, using a computer for guitars instead of my amplifier, which I still use on occasion, but I don't use as much, is actually more efficient than using my amplifier, because my amplifier, being solid state, is sucking up its full complement of energy whenever it's on. Whereas a computer doesn't work that way. And because of that, I can play my guitar through my computer for less energy footprint than I can through my amplifier. But that's a trade-off too, because I mean, it's not, you don't have the same versatility as you do with an amplifier, and music is important to me. And so I mean, even though some people might say, well, big deal, so you can't play, through your amplifier and effects processors and stuff like that. Well, it is a big deal to me, because it impacts my hobby, and it impacts my relaxed time, because guitar playing and drumming and so on and so forth, that's what I do to relax. And so it does have an impact on me, and this is about me, right? So at least that's how I understand it. And I'm certainly going to do a little bit more research into at where energy is generated in Canada, and how it's generated. And I think some of my presentation is going to be about that, and to explain why it's important that I cut down energy use is one of the things I can do. Before I forget, in terms of my computers, I have all of my computers now set to shut off if they're left idle for more than 10 minutes. So if I was to leave a computer on and leave, it'll shut itself down. And I used to leave my computers on, and by used to I mean 2 weeks ago, I left my computers on. This computer, I left my main computer on 24/7. It virtually never shut off. I used to leave it on for weekends. The cooling fans in my computer, the fans that I have in my computer, they're efficient, but they're also high maintenance, and leaving them on causes less maintenance issues than shutting them off and turning them on all of the time. And so in some ways it was easier and cheaper to leave my computer on. But there again, it comes down to, sacrifices. This is about making a change in myself, making a change in my habits to suit the environment, or to help the environment as best I can. And these are the little things I can do, and that's what I'm doing. And I mean, it may not seem like much, but I hope I've convinced you that this is actually making a fairly big impact on me and how I used to live and things I used to like to do. I thought about recycling and water use, like I say, but the water use thing, the only really bad habit I have for water use is showering, and I tend to shower 10 or 15 minutes instead of the 5 that I would need. But that's really my only bad water habit. So I don't have a lot of movement I can make in water. In terms of recycling, I recycle everything I can. I actually don't consume that much in my house here. I'm gone an awful lot, and so my garbage is, I would say, about a typical plastic grocery bag's worth every 2 weeks. It's pretty minuscule. And so there's just not much I can do in terms of aiding my garbage footprint. It's pretty small. I tend to keep the heat turned low, because I actually tend to like cooler things. I tend to keep my apartment around 15 degrees. I like it at 15 degrees, so that suits me fine. And we have gas heat here. It's a boiler, and it's gas, so it doesn't impact my electricity use. It does impact my energy use, but I have no control over it. So I guess my energy use is focusing specifically on electrical energy use. Like I say, I hope I've made a convincing argument that this is a reasonable project for me. It doesn't feel small for me. And like your syllabus says, this is about me. It's about making a change in my life that may help the environment. Energy use is where I can do that, and it's where I can afford a lot of improvement. You know, even just today, I realized I left a light on when I went to school. I was in a hurry. It's things like that that cost me money, which I don't have. It costs Canada energy, which it doesn't have. We're already kind of on that cusp of production versus demand, and it costs the environment um, in ways that are awfully hard to quantify, but are no doubt important. So, I guess that's what I'm gonna do.